Just because Arnold Schwarzenegger does it doesn't mean it's actually any good for your shoulders.
Dude, you can't say that.
Yeah, but sometimes you gotta take down a legendary exercise, and the Arnold press is a legendary exercise that in theory hits your shoulders from all angles, but the only thing it's really doing is preventing you from going as heavy as you can. So we're gonna get away from the Arnold press today. We're gonna explain why and give you a couple alternatives. Sorry, Arnold.
Now, Arnold's the reason I got into lifting, but because of that old school lifting mentality, there's some things that we've learned through time that maybe aren't optimal for our lifting now. Specifically, the extreme lowering portion in the beginning. When you see someone coming down with their arms out at this T pattern, the high five position for the shoulder is one of the most vulnerable positions you could be in, specifically fully externally rotated and up at that 90-90 spot. So when you're lowering the weight back that way in the traditional bodybuilder type of setup, it's usually not the best space to be in when it comes to your shoulder movements overall.
Exactly, it winds up becoming this deliberate motion because we're thinking rotate out, then find that high five position, then come back down. And so you just have all this excess motion that just isn't getting you anywhere. And like you said, is creating the potential for injury. And the other issue with all of that excess motion is when I'm worried about all of that, then I'm getting away from one of the key things I should be getting to do with the overhead press, which is just move some serious load. So when I'm focused on a more traditional overhead press and I'm just working from the scapular plane, maintaining that upward motion and just focusing on that, I'm gonna be able to load a lot heavier. Loading is one of the key aspects, one of the key things we wanna do when we're training the overhead press. So it makes sense to do that instead of having all this extra motion.
And specifically when it comes to the unique pattern of the Arnold press, it's that deliberate motion in front, and the rotation that happens in that probably isn't best for a lot of people because of the unnecessary load discrepancy between what you would press and how you would rotate it in the front. So when you see somebody bringing those arms out here, you have to think there's a lot of torque on your upper body, specifically by having that weight elongated from where you are in the space that you're working in. So if you're gonna get yourself into a better spot, there are definitely better options you can use to maximize the shoulder muscle and minimize the stress of the shoulder joint.
Because of those three issues, and we sincerely apologize to Arnold, we just have a couple better ideas for you that'll get that shoulder development that you really want. So your first option, and this is actually more similar to the Arnold press than you may think, is a traditional single arm or double arm kettlebell press. And one of the coolest things with the single arm kettlebell press for me is that you actually wind up getting a little bit of natural rotation, and you wind up down in that same tight front rack position with the kettlebell, except the placement of the load makes it a lot easier to maintain external rotation throughout your shoulder as you're doing it. And so you're gonna get a really, really good experience out of it, and you're gonna be able to go heavy if we go with the single arm version.
Yeah, it's always better to go with whatever way your body naturally wants to move versus predictable, deliberate motions that may cause a lot of damage. And if you're looking to actually hit that medial or lateral deltoid that you're looking for, a better option is going to end up being lateral raises. Just find an exercise that's going to target that portion of the shoulder. If you're looking to fatigue it out and add it and complement it in either a superset or a compound set to really fatigue the shoulder, lateral raises are a great way to make sure that you're doing everything that you want that you would actually get from the Arnold press.
In that same vein, let's, instead of adding all this complication to the overhead press, and again, we apologize, Arnold, let's just focus on the classic overhead press with dumbbells. What you're gonna get to do there is, one, we get to focus on lifting straight overhead in the scapular plane, which is a nice, safe way to do it. And two, because we've removed all that extra movement, you can just add poundage and move more weight. It's gonna help you build shoulder power, it's gonna help you add shoulder strength, and it's gonna challenge your entire system because we've got a heavier weight held overhead. So when it comes to overhead pressing, stick to the alternatives we've given you and leave the Arnold press back in the days of old school bodybuilding.